We go with some data that we're going to manipulate. And what we're trying to get to is we're trying to get to this bar chart, which is called a segmented bar chart. And what I have here is if I bring my chart up a little bit, the way that it's set up is I can change this to different values, and you can see that my segmented bar chart is actually going to update. So let me go back and talk about how we did that. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to duplicate this tab. I'm going to rename it something. I'm going to call it lesson 10. So what we're looking at here is we have information from Acalanes High School from last year for Cal Poly SLO. And we see accepted, unknown, and then waitlisted is in here somewhere, or withdrawn. So what I'm going to do is scroll down. There's about 133 students, 132 students that applied. I'm going to sort this data to begin with. What I really want to look at is how the GPA did in terms of accepted versus denied. And so before I do that, let's just do some conditional formatting so that we can look at it pretty easily. So conditional formatting, if the text is exactly accepted, then it's going to be green. And I'm going to add another rule. If it is exactly denied, make it red. And then we'll leave it like that for now. So what I want to do is I want to figure out what my GPAs are. What I'm trying to get to is really this chart here: accepted, denied, unknown, and then below the cutoff, above the cutoff, and then the total. So let me just build that real quick. So I'm going to say I have my accepted, denied, unknown, and I want to look at the GPA. Sorry, GPA greater than cutoff, GPA less than cutoff. And I want that cutoff to be defined in some other cell. So I'm going to actually give myself a little bit of space here because I'm going to build some more columns. So I'm going to basically figure out whether they were accepted, but first off, whether their GPA is above the cutoff. So GPA greater than cutoff. And so I need to define my cutoff somewhere. I'm going to just define it down here. I'm going to put those two cells together, the box, and I'm going to say that cutoff, in this case, is 3.5. And what I'm going to do is use a conditional statement. So I will say equals if this is greater than this, I'm going to type in quotes yes, otherwise no. So what that's saying is if that value is greater than this value I6, it's a yes. If it's not, it's a no. And since I want to use that I6 value all the time, I'm going to make it an absolute reference. And it sets my autofill here. So let's take a look at it. This was greater than, and it says yes. This was less than, it says no. Greater yes, less than no, no. It seems like it's working correctly. I'm going to do some conditional formatting on that so that I can easily kind of look at how this works. So conditional formatting, and text is exactly yes, it's green, another, and then text is exactly no, is red. All right. So now what I need to do is I need to get some sort of count, right? I want to count how many were accepted and greater than the cutoff, and then accepted but less than the cutoff. So there's a count value that I can look for here, but the problem is that these two pieces aren't connected now. So what I want to do is I'm going to make a combined result, and it's going to equal this accepted. And here's the tricky part. I want to add this text together. I use the ampersand and I use that one. So what that means is when I'm looking at this, it's combined those. Accepted yes, denied no, accepted yes, denied no, denied no. And The tricky thing is, let's see if it works dynamically if I change my value here. So if I make this a 3, it updates, which is great. If I make this a 4, it updates. And again, nobody is bigger than a 4.0 in this one, so that makes sense that they're all no. And everything is updated here. So I'm going to put it back to my 3.5. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to do a count if. So equals count if, and I want to get my values in here. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to correct all of my data. So in that range, I want to know a count if accepted. Oh, I can't see. And then this is greater than the cutoff. So accepted, yes. Should be 54. All right. I want to use this range on all of them. So I'm going to make this an absolute reference. And I'm going to drag it down. And then I'm going to drag it across. So what I want to change here is this is denied. Yes. So there should be 16 people here that were greater than that GPA cutoff, but actually were denied. An unknown. That's 23. And then same thing here, except now this is a no. So I can see only 7. Not accepted. Yes, it should be denied. No. No, and then unknown. No. This needs to be capital. So it is case sensitive. So make sure that you are spelling this. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to check some totals. So I'm going to just format this a little bit. So I'm going to underline that and equals sum of the things above it. It's trying to autofill it for me. And then I want to just drag that across. And that looks correct. And so my total here should equal sum these two here. That's how many students we're talking about, 126. I do have some withdrawns, so I don't have those counted, so it should be a little bit less than we had talked about. Well, let's see, equals sum. I want these values. And I can just drag that down. And equals sum these. And what I can see is I was looking at these two check out. So I've got all my values there. All right. So again, last thing we want to do is check here that it actually is dynamic. So if I make this a 3, my values update. If I make it a 4, my values update. So I know that it's working. Now what I want to do is I want to make a segmented bar chart. So to make a segmented bar chart, I'm going to gather my data like this, and I'm going to do insert chart. And it's already built it in as a stacked column chart. If it didn't do that for you, you could adjust it to select that value. So I'm just going to leave that as is for right now, and I'm going to put it in here. So now what we can do is we can start to see really visually, right? We have a tool where we can do some analysis, in this case for Cal Poly, but we could do it for any of our universities that we're interested in. So I can see what this looks like graphically, and then if I change this to like a 3.3, what does that do? So I can see my accepted goes way up. So almost everybody that was accepted had above a 3.3, but everybody else was also around that as well. So let me do a 3.4. I can see the denied grew a little bit more. I'm going to go to a 3.6, even more. I could go to a 3.7. All right. I could go to a 3.8. I can see it like at 3.8, most people were denied, right? That were less than that cutoff. And I'm about 50-50 in my accepted. So 3.8 seems like a kind of a boundary through an 8.5. right? Even more. So again, it's not makes sense that as your GPA goes up, you would have more acceptance, right? But we can see kind of really quickly here that we're going to probably group this unknown together with the denied. This is all self-reported, so these are probably together. That we can start to very quickly get a visual of what these pieces look like.